if I'm supposed to be the one that's on stage telling this story that I wrote, it's either my story or one of my co-writers' stories, because that's the only thing that we write about is stuff that we can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I not be there for the whole duration of that story getting told? I want to know the ins and out of what went into making this song and making it sound as good as it possibly can.
What's going on? I'm Adam. Thanks so much for doing this, Jet. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to do it. Nice to meet you. This will be fun.
I'm really excited. I saw that you had a podcast, or you're doing a podcast for a little bit, weren't you?
I do have one. It's called Soundproofed. I started it last year with one of my really close friends and co-writers, Erica Latza.
Uh-huh.
We kind of started it out of the blue, like on a spur of the moment. But then we realized that it's kind of hard to do it over like the holiday season because everybody's in different places.
Oh, sure.
So we were like, all right, let's take a break and then we'll come back at the start of the year. And we haven't recorded any more episodes.
It happens, man. It happens.
It happens. I want to start doing it again because I really love it. I love all the technical, like the behind the scenes part of it, setting up the mics, getting the levels right. Cause I love that kind of stuff. And then just being able to talk to people. It's fun. So I got to get back into it.
That's cool. And you have so much else going on. So I would imagine it's probably pretty hard to juggle everything between acting and your music. And then, all right, we got to do this podcast. But yeah,
scheduling is definitely like a full-time job for a podcast. I don't know how you do it. It's kind of crazy.
It's all I can do, man.
It's crazy trying to schedule all this stuff because between us trying to have other artists and songwriters and musicians come on the podcast to then actually figuring out, all right, well, I'm going to be in town this week, but Erica's going to be back home in North Carolina. Well, then she's performing this night and I'm going to be, what in the world? What were we thinking when we were like, yeah, this will be a great idea.
Well, yeah, I did see that. I was like, oh, cool. He's doing one too. But yeah, I know it's so hard to juggle. If I wasn't doing this full time, I was on the radio for a lot of years in California.
Gotcha.
And, I started doing this and then the pandemic happened and I was doing this prior to the pandemic and then this took over because
podcast blew up over that.
It did. I got lucky.
I'm one of those people too, though. Like rather than scrolling through TikTok, I scroll through YouTube Shorts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Podcasts are just all over YouTube Shorts and clips of podcasts and stuff like that. So I'm just sitting here aimlessly watching like 35 different podcasts purely off of YouTube Shorts. I do want to get my podcast back up and running, though. I think we'll start recording some episodes, fingers crossed, within the next month or two. Kind of get it back going.
I'm excited to check it out. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're from Nashville. This is about you, by the way, and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new song and what you have coming up. But I recently moved to Nashville about 2.5 years ago, along with I guess half of the state of California. But
For real.
I love it here. You were born and raised here. Tell me about that. That's
absolutely awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of it's interesting telling people that you're from Nashville because you don't really. I'm sure you've noticed this. Living in Nashville, you don't meet people that are actually from Nashville.
Yeah, it's like San Diego. People
exactly.
I grew up
you
there.
You meet people that moved. Exactly.
Moved there, right?
Exactly. 100%. I know exactly what you're saying. So it's a lot of fun. I kind of grew up in the entertainment industry. I always tell people when you're from Nashville, you're going to be involved in entertainment in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the guy that's running sound, the lighting dude that's setting up the stage, or the person that's on the stage or in front of the camera. You're going to be involved in it. You can throw a stone in this town and hit a musician. Just like if you're in LA, you can throw a stone and hit 5 actors, especially if you drive down the street in LA now, they're all picketing. So you can really hit actors when you just toss a stone. Exactly. You can see them like crazy everywhere.
And half of them are probably living on the street.
Anyway. Oh my gosh, so true. So true. I always also kind of make the joke of, yes, I'm from Nashville and I was raised here, but I also kind of say, well, I also kind of just grew up in the backseat of a car or a plane because I spent so much of my childhood traveling. Sure. Between Tennessee and Missouri, where my dad grew up. We still have his house there and our lake house. And then I started going to California for acting when I was 5. So wow. I mean, the majority of my life, we have a lot of Southwest points. I have spent a lot of time in a Southwest aircraft. So I'm from Nashville, and my Southern accent comes out a little bit on certain words and things like that. But whenever if I'm around other people that got Southern accents, then that's when mine comes
It
out.
comes out, sure.
Yep. Or I'll notice, like, if I'm in California, I speak very clearly and very proper. And I think it's due to the fact of doing voiceover work since I was like 5 or 6.
Mhm.
And, you know, when you're working for Disney or Nickelodeon and you're on a show that's for toddlers, they don't, unless the character description is Southern boy, they want someone that just talks normally. And so
Right.
I've always kind of had to have that switch in my brain of trying to get out of my southernness, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
it's always nice coming back home and being here in Nashville like I am now, and just kind of being able to let my southern come out, let my roots show a little bit.
I know. I wonder, like, just because I've only lived here for 2.5 years, I wonder if 10 years down the line I'll start picking up the southern. I hope I pick up the southern accent. I think it's cool.
First of all, it's the best accent next to
Really
like
is.
Australian, because I just love listening to an Australian like talk and get so passionate about something. But I feel like next to that, a southern accent is just awesome. It's the best one in our country, I think. I might be a little biased, but I do believe it.
I agree with you, man. I love
I
it.
imagine you'll pick it up a little bit. You'll notice you'll say y'all a lot. Or
I started saying y'all because of it. And it's like,
told you.
because I don't want to be like you guys. And then I feel
Yep.
like people are just gonna know that I'm totally out of place. So it's
You'll pay attention to doing it.
Yeah,
Exactly. You'll pay attention to doing it for like the first couple months, and then it'll just like start coming out naturally. And you're like, what in the Lord's name is happening? I catch myself. My mom always makes fun of me. She's like, I don't know where you got this. I say whatnot a lot. So
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
yeah, we went, and we went tubing down behind the boat, down at the lake, and we just did some fishing and whatnot. And she's like, where is this whatnot stuff? And then I go to Missouri, and I hear a lot of people that are from Missouri say whatnot. It's like
Oh,
it's the
interesting.
Missouri like slang.
Slang
And I'm
words.
like,
Yeah.
oh my, I'm a mutt. I am a mutt and a human. I am a mutt and a human. My accent is all over the place. My terminology, my wording, it's all over the place. I don't know what in the world I am.
Well, that's a beautiful thing.
That was a long way to say I'm from Nashville.
No. So I was okay. Since I moved here recently, I was researching you and all of your interviews. And I don't know if maybe you do this on purpose. And if so, then don't tell me the answer to this. But you
Okay.
say that you started music at your parents' restaurant / bar.
Mm-hmm.
What? There's no name of it anywhere. Like I
Okay.
couldn't find out what the name of it is. Like I was trying to find out, and it'd be like I would see a restaurant I knew, and then I was like, oh, you're just playing. You're playing a show there. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so and I'm like scrolling through your Instagram, like I wonder if he's gonna post like
So my parents did own a bar here in Nashville.
Okay.
Also, I didn't mention this one. When you're from Nashville, you say Nashville, not Nashville.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people look at me and they're like, where is Nashville? And I'm like, I don't know. I got rid of the I. It's just Nashville.
Well, it's
Or
like Louisville.
Louisville. Exactly. I don't even say Louis. I say Louisville. I don't know what's happening. But my parents owned a bar, and it's called the Nashville Palace.
Okay.
It's right across from Opryland. It's still there, right across from the Grand Ole Opry,
Really?
right across the street. And so that they owned that
In that,
from
is it in that where they built that mall or no?
it's across from the mall. So if you're driving down the street and you go to pull in to Opryland, it's on that same street on the right side. So it's literally right across the street from Opryland.
No way. Okay, cool.
So they owned that from when I was born to when they sold it when I was 8. And
Okay.
so the first 8 years of my life were really spent in that place. That's where I first ever, like I say, that's where I first got on stage. I started getting on stage there when I was 3. Kind of fell in love with entertainment and being in front of people. I never met a stranger. I was the kid that was a 5-year-old like car salesman, because I'd ask people as they're walking out of our dinner show, you want my picture? And they'd say, yeah, of course. I'm not going to tell a 5-year-old no. So I knew how to write Love Jet. and I would write
So
Love
you're
Jet.
signing headshots at 5?
I was signing headshots. I wrote Love Jet, and I go to hand it to him. This is a trick. I go to hand it to him, and I'd say, that's $2.
Oh, that's
They're not
brilliant.
going to tell a 5-year-old no.
Yeah.
And now at the time, I didn't realize how genius this was. Now I'm like, I think I missed my calling. I could be
Yeah.
selling like some Maseratis or something. Like,
You
what am I doing here?
It reminds me of when you're in the airport and they're like, "Hey, let me shine your shoes up." And then
Yep.
like they'll start and like try to ask you from, I'm like, "What? I didn't say do it. Like, what's going on here?"
Yep, absolutely. Or the guys that are like always walking around downtown like LA and even Nashville, and they got like the bracelets and they're like, try this on. Oh, it looks so good on your wrist. That's $10.
Sure.
I'm like, wait a minute, but I don't want to take it off now because it does make my wrist
It
look
looks
good.
like
What
pretty
am I doing?
good.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
me see if I have 10.
Exactly. So that's kind of where that is where I got my start. And I started acting when I was 4 here in Nashville. I started on stage with we're really close with the Mandrell sisters. So
Okay.
Barbara Louise Erlene Mandrell, Barbara's been a member of the Grand Ole Opry for like 51 years now, something like that. So they're all
Wow.
like aunts to me. So she's like Aunt Barbara, that sort of thing. So it was their mother, Mary Mandrell, that told my parents, try acting with him. And they had
Okay.
a friend, Mark Block, at the Block Agency, still my agent to this day here in Nashville.
No way. That's
Yeah, he
amazing.
is. He is. So I started acting out here, and then it was almost a year later exactly. I was 5. That Mark said, "Hey, I have a connection out in LA. Why don't you go out there?" So I got my agent that's out there, and then my manager that we worked with for a long time, and the rest is history. Really, it's kind of crazy whenever I say that. It's like 14 years later, almost. I'll be 19 in November. Almost 15 years later,
Uh-huh.
we're still doing it. And it's kind of crazy to think about that I'll be 19 and be able to say that I've been in a certain career field for 15 years, but that's the way it is. And I've
Yeah.
just kind of grown up in the entertainment industry.
Well, obviously are very talented, because there's a lot of people, especially if you're a child actor, so many people just do 1 or 2 roles and then they're not interested anymore, or something happens or whatever. The fact that you were able to continually love it so much that you wanted to be in other things and other shows, and you were getting the jobs, which is a huge thing in itself, right?
Absolutely. I was very fortunate that I could have, and still do have, both my parents with me and always travel with me. Never had to worry about, just having one of them. I always had
Mhm.
that foundation, and I never take that for granted. I understand that I'm very fortunate because not everybody is able to have that.
Mhm.
And they always told me that no matter what it is that you want to do, we'll always support you. And
That's
if
awesome.
it gets to the point, yes, and if it gets to the point to where acting isn't fun for you, if it gets to the point to where music isn't fun for you, if you're not enjoying it, you don't have to do it anymore.
That's
And
cool.
it's that foundation that's kind of kept me going and kept me wanting to do it.
Mhm.
And just kind of having it really makes you kind of put your faith in God and let him kind of take the wheel. Because you know that everything's supposed to happen for a reason. And no matter which way, whatever path he has for you, my parents are going to support me. And that's something not everybody is able to have. And I love them for that so much.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm I'm almost 39 and I still don't have that from my parents. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what do you do? Like, it's just, I come from the generation of go to college, get this job, and you work there until you can retire. And it's like, well, that's really not life anymore. I feel like companies will
Exactly.
just hack you. They have AI that's going to take over the world. But
For real. And I will say I do have some family. Like I have a very strong family base. Like all of my family is very supportive of me. Everybody's always been there for me. Even when, like my family in Missouri, I wouldn't see them for months and months and months. I'd be working in California, I'd be out here, but they
Mhm.
always supported me, always loved me every time I came back. My grandfather, he's from that where anytime if I'm not on stage or in front of a camera, I'm in Missouri and I'm on the farm working, and I'm on my horse and I'm roping cattle and we're fixing fence, we're cutting down tree limbs,
That's
whatever it is.
awesome.
Cause he's from that. And he's like, what do you mean you're out there acting? What are you on stage doing? You're going to come out to the farm. We need more hands tomorrow morning. And I'm out there
Right.
and I love it. I love the farm. I really do. I'm an outdoors person. I don't like being trapped inside. So COVID was nice for me by being in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, because I could just go out and nobody was out. So I could
Yeah,
go
you could still be
outside.
outside. Yeah.
Exactly. But all of my family, even my grandfather, is very, very supportive of me.
That's so awesome. And yeah, I've seen pictures just based off of my internet stalking of you on your Instagram, like you like fishing, or it's like you and your grandfather. I think you're like on a tractor, like in a
Oh yeah.
barn, and just like a
Hmm.
lot of cool photos like that, just being outside. Because nowadays, I mean, I have a 15 and a 7-year-old, and it's just all about video games inside on the iPad. Like getting everybody outside is just like such, I feel like it's not the same, you know, and the
Exactly.
fact
Well,
that
no,
you enjoy doing that, that's I think rare
really,
this generation.
nobody goes outside to like play anymore.
Right.
Nobody like nobody plays Ghost in the Graveyard outside anymore. Nobody plays all these fun games that even I like remember playing. Even though,
Mhm.
I was born in '04 and I'm from kind of like the middle of the Gen Z kind of
Yeah, yeah,
generation. So, we'll have people in my generation that are 25, and then you'll have like 9-year-olds, and I'm like, I'm stuck in the middle of this. I don't know
right.
which way I'm supposed to go right now, who I'm supposed to hang out with, but I'm somewhere in the middle. But like my parents always used to say, as you can see, I have guitars everywhere next to me. I
I
have
know, it's
two.
amazing.
I have three guitars over here, three acoustics. I got my electric back there. I have
Oh, I
another
didn't even
guitar in a
notice the
case over
electric.
here.
Now I can see it because your mic was blocking it, but there it is.
Yeah, so I have instruments everywhere. I have a keyboard over here. That was always kind of considered my video game.
Mhm.
I got it. My aunt got me a Nintendo Switch for like my 13th birthday. And that was really like the first video game I had that I could like play on the TV. I had a little
Mhm.
DS, but I didn't play it.
Mhm.
And then about 2 years ago, my parents bought me a PS5
Oh, there you go.
because I had never had a gaming console in my whole life. I didn't even ask for it. I was like, there's no way they're ever going to get me anything like this. Why would I ask for it? And they did. I think I've played this thing like maybe over 2 years, 10 times. I'm not even exaggerating. I only
So many
play it
people
if
are
like,
now are so angry because were like, there's
I
like
know
near impossible. It's like, I don't know if it's still that way, but it was like near impossible to get
it
that.
really
My
was.
son has one. We had to like buy it off of someone on, I think on eBay or something.
That's literally when I opened it, I thought it was one of those pranks where they just bought the box and they put
Uh,
something else in there. Cause I was like, you can't get these. Like the
yeah,
only time I play it are when my cousins are in town. Like I'm not, I don't have time.
right.
Uh, so I really did kind of just grow up outside, loving the farm. You mentioned my grandfather and I on a tractor. We always take pictures with the tractors. Been a tradition my whole life at our family reunion. There is a orange tractor on the farm that my family still owns that my grandfather grew up on, and him and I think his 8 or 9 other siblings, because
Wow.
back then they had big
Yeah.
families.
Oh, yeah.
And so my dad, my grandfather, and myself, 3 generations, we all have the same first name, Joseph. We all take a picture on this tractor that my grandfather grew up driving that my dad restored when he was like 25,
I
and
was
now
gonna
here
say it
I am
looks
being
really
18.
nice. I mean, it looks like
Exactly.
it's like new orange paint on it.
That's literally the tractor. That's it. That's the one
Wow.
my dad restored. And so that we take a picture of that every single year. And so that's just it's those memories and like fishing, going up to Alaska with my grandfather and going fishing and going salmon fishing, spending time with my dad, spending time with my mom. Family is a very, very important thing to me.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like it's not as prominent anymore. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's really, really
Everybody's more
cool.
worried about their phones and,
Yeah,
what do people think of me on Instagram?
right. You give me hope for the for the younger generation.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
uh, so yeah, obviously keyboards, guitars all over you. When did you start playing like an instrument? And what was the first one you went to?
So, I started out on guitar. I really always had a guitar in my hands. When I was really little, I played guitar, and I'd be up on stage and, I knew my G, D, E minor, C. I knew how to play
Oh,
those chords, and
just
boom,
did you learn them yourself, or did you got lessons? Or
I think when I was that young, it was my mom that taught me really.
oh,
And
she
then,
can
like
play.
yes, she's a musician. And then, when you're in a place where there's live music all the time, you're always around musicians who are like, oh, there's a 5-year-old that wants to play guitar. Here, this is how you play. So I always kind of had a guitar in my hands. There's a lot of pictures of me when I was little, just babbling around with the guitar. And it wasn't until I was about 10, I started getting back into the music scene, and my parents bought me a little baby Taylor guitar, and I just started playing it. Learned 2 songs right off the bat that were classics. Wagon Wheel. Everybody loves Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
And then I learned You Are My Sunshine, because that's what my mom used to always sing to me when I was little, growing up.
That's awesome.
And so I learned how to play those songs, kept playing, started writing songs. Piano is kind of the newest edition. I taught myself ukulele somewhere in there, just because I was so small for my age. I wanted a small guitar that I could play while I was watching like Sunday Night Football. I cannot make this up. So genuine. I wanted an instrument that I could play while I was sitting on the couch. And so I taught myself ukulele. I just figured, I was like, okay, well, this is pretty fun. And it's so tiny and it just sounds so cool. I'm sure there's some people out there that are going to get mad at me. I think the actual pronunciation is ukulele, but I say ukulele.
I say ukulele as well.
I'll say ukulele because I'm a Southern boy, and that's how we talk. Keyboard though, piano is the newest edition. I know enough I know the scales. I know how to play it. It's the matter of actually getting my fingers to do what I want them to do.
Right.
I know enough to be able to chunk chords and write songs to it. And that's about it. That's all I really need to know. I know I'm not going to be a professional piano player. And then I've just kind of been working on the electric. I got a new pedal board just a couple weeks ago, so I've been kind of working on that. And I love it. Knowing what I know now, it's funny, people always ask me, which instrument would you start on? Knowing what I know now and knowing that I'm not stopping music anytime soon, and I'm going to continue to progress and get more involved in producing and performing and playing, hopefully one day being able to play on my records. I would want to learn piano first to learn the theory portion of it, and then move to guitar. Because now it's like everything that I like learned that's almost like shorthand on guitar, I've got to almost unlearn and learn the actual proper form for piano and get my fingers like learning all the notes that are in the scales and things like that. Whereas guitar, I just remembered where the fingering and the positions and the shapes. So it's interesting, but I love music. I love constantly learning and changing my sound and challenging myself, because I think as an artist, as a writer, as a producer, the worst thing you can do is say, this is how I've always done it.
Right.
Stay fluid, stay learning, stay changing. Your audience is going to stay growing and learning and changing, so they're going to get tired of you if you're just doing the same thing. So just grow and keep like I said, stay fluid, keep producing different things.
Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of musicians, and one of the more common things I hear is people that were put in piano lessons at like 5 or 6, and then being like, I wish my mom or dad would have kept me in that. Like, it took me years later to want to pick it up again, or I can't play it as well as I wish I could because I started playing guitar instead, or whatever it may be. And I'm not a musician by any means. I can play guitar and kind of piano a little bit, but it's like one of those things, like my sister and dad are like really good piano players, and they would just sit down and play. And my sister took like a liking to it from a very early age, and so I'm always like so jealous. They'll just sit down and just like play, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could.
Isn't that so annoying when it's people that you're related to as well? Because I have a cousin who, they're 2 cousins, their brothers are in a band, Silas and Sam. They're amazing. I mean, some of the best musicians I've ever worked with and heard. Silas gave me piano lessons for about a year or 2 ago, just over FaceTime. We'd hop on for an hour a week. He'd give me stuff to work on, and it really kind of opened my vision of music up, because he would expand my knowledge and make me listen to anybody from Kanye West to Billy Joel. I mean, just as far as production and keys and stuff goes. And that really kind of taught me, but it's so true. I wish I would have known what I know now.
Right.
But everybody's journey is different. I think a lot of people always compare themselves like, well, I'm older than this person. We've been doing it for the same amount of time. Why am I not farther along in my career? Everybody's journey is different. Every path that God makes for everybody is different. You just let Jesus take the wheel and let everything happen for a reason.
Yes. I was gonna say, like, when it comes to releasing, or you said you were writing songs at a very early age, but like when you'd write something, it looks like, and well, actually, you still have plenty. You're only 19. I mean, not even 19, right? You turned 19 in November.
Exactly.
You have plenty of time to learn how to be like a classically trained, insanely good piano player. But you put out you was Everything Will Be All Right. Was that the first like original song that you put out, or like, or no?
No, so that actually, the entire album that the self-titled album, which was my first album that I put out, which I believe came out in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Spotify's saying 2019, but they don't. That
2019,
could
might
be
be
wrong.
2019. It's somewhere around. I knew it was somewhere around there. Maybe Everything Will Be All Right came out in 2017, 2018. When I put that song out, I did not write that one. And
Okay.
so for that entire album, I had only been writing for about a year, maybe 2 years. And I only wrote one of the songs that was on that album, which was Say Goodbye. I wrote it with my best friend in the whole world, Olivia McKenna. And we wrote that one. And what I do kind of as a personal thing is I set a goal for each project and each album, each single, everything. I set a different goal. And so my goal for the last album, after the first one came out, was write all of my music from here on out. So
Okay.
that's what I did. I wrote all the songs.
So
Now for
that
this
record
next,
that came out, I guess it'd be last year. Phase
Mhm.
One, Discover,
Yes,
that
sir.
one. Okay.
I wrote all the songs on that with all my co-writers, my amazing friends. I couldn't have done it without them. And then so for this next one, which my new single is going to be on, Falling 2, and then this album I'm working on, my goal for that is be super, super involved in the actual producing and mixing side of it. So be there when all the songs are getting mixed, working with my producing partner to be there for the whole thing. And he actually told me, he goes, it's rare for artists to really be here when the mixing actually happens.
I was just gonna say that I don't know many artists that it's usually the record's cut and then they send it off to someone to mix and
Exactly.
master.
And I was surprised by that because if I'm supposed to be the one that's on stage telling this story that I wrote, it's either my story or one of my co-writers' stories, because that's the only thing that we write about is stuff that we can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I not be there for the whole duration of that story getting told? I want to know the ins and out of what went into making this song and making it sound as good as it possibly can. And also, if somebody doesn't like the song or doesn't like something about the song, that's not on anybody else. This is me. This is my art. It's my craft. It's my song through and through.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to try to brush it off. Oh, well, that's how Dan decided to mix it. That's how
Sure.
the musicians decided to play it. No, take accountability. All right. If it's you, it's you. And so I love behind the scenes things. And so that's what I'm doing for this. So I was there when Falling 2, my latest single, was mixed. I was there for the next handful of songs were mixed. I'm gonna be there for the next handful we're gonna go in and record. I'm gonna be there for all of it. And I'm really, really excited to see what phase 2 brings us.
Love it. So when it comes to like that album, Phase One, so tell me about, because obviously you're still very active actor. I know they're on SAG's on strike and all that stuff right now, but
Yes, sir.
aside from that, I mean, writing an album or working on an album, like juggling the music and acting, is it something that you have to kind of, okay, if I'm working on this show for this amount of time, like during my off time, I can kind of continue to play guitar or kind of write songs.
That's definitely a great way to look. That's honestly almost exactly how it works. Uh like I always travel with a guitar, or if I'm in California, I have a guitar at our house there. So I just always have a guitar with me. If I'm on set, it's in my dressing room.
Okay.
So I'm always practicing. But as far as like songwriting goes, if you're on set for X amount of hours throughout the day, it's hard to write.
Right.
So as strange as it sounds, COVID was a blessing in disguise for me
I guess
because
it allowed you time to,
it allowed me time. Live action stuff completely stopped for acting. Only thing that kept going was voiceover, and I could record voiceover stuff from home.
that's
I have a
beautiful. I'm sure
Disney
that was a beautiful thing,
It was.
right?
I have a Disney Junior show called Tots,
Yes.
and the entire I'm not exaggerating when I say 95% of season 2 of that show was recorded from the recording booth in the basement my dad built for me in our house in Missouri. That's where it was recorded with a mic, an interface, and my laptop. hit record,
Wow.
hop on a Zoom with them, and send them just the raw footage, the raw audio track.
Audio track,
And
yeah.
that made it into that's what made up the entirety of season 2. The songs, everything. I think the only thing that we ever went in and recorded was when COVID started to let up for like 2 weeks in
Right.
2020. We went out to California just to check on the house, see some friends and family. And Disney called me and they needed to do some pickups. And I went in the studio and did it. I think I had one session that was in person for the entirety of season 2 for that. So it really gave me a chance to just write and focus on music and focus on getting better at that portion of my craft. And I met a lot of co-writers, some of my best friends in the world who I do writers rounds with and who I've written with a bunch. David Seeger, he and I are playing the Bluebird. It's today. He and I are playing it Thursday.
No.
We're
Oh, I
playing.
think I saw a flyer for that.
So we're playing the Bluebird on Thursday, and he asked me to play there the first time in 2021, I believe it was. He had never heard me perform live. We had never written in person and only met each other one time at the Bluebird when I came to watch him in a round with my friend Scott Reeves.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember saying to him, we wrote a bunch over COVID, over Zoom, never met in person. And I remember saying to him after the round, I was like, you really took a chance on me because you've never heard me live. We've never had a conversation in person other than, hi, I'm Jet, I'm Scott's friend. And then you have other people to talk to.
Right.
Like that's it. And he goes, I figured you could handle it. I'm like, at the Bluebird, that's a little stressful, man. It was a little stressful, but COVID was a blessing in disguise for me. And I mean, majority of the songs that were on Phase 1 Discover were written during COVID. They were COVID songs.
Wow. And it was all done this way.
It was a
For
lot
the
of it was
most
done
part,
this
yeah.
way. My rights that happened like while I was in Nashville typically happened actually in this room. But a lot of them were written over FaceTime and over Zoom.
Wow. And then now obviously you can write in person. Is that I would imagine preferable and a totally different experience than this?
It is if you're writing with somebody new, I prefer to be in person.
Mhm.
But I'm so used to writing over Zoom and FaceTime because I was doing that before it was even cool. Like when I first started songwriting, I was in California and my best friend Olivia, she was out here in Nashville. So we just wrote over FaceTime for like 2 or 3 years when we first started songwriting. We were each other's first like 20 co-writes. We never wrote with anybody else.
Oh,
Like
wow.
that was it. And we just wrote over FaceTime. So I was used to it. So when COVID happened, I was like, I'm going back to my roots. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Everybody else was losing it. They're like, I hate it. And I'm like, this is awesome. Are you kidding me? All I have to do, like if it's like somebody professional, I'll wear a golf shirt here. And then I'm in like gym shorts down here, no
Yeah.
shoes. I'm just having a blast. I'm like, you don't know what's in my can. This is LaCroix, this is sparkling water. But yeah, I'm like, it was fun. But I do prefer to be in person. There's just nothing like having that personal connection with somebody.
Sure. So when it comes to this new album, phase 2 of this album, first off, how many phases are you gonna do? Do you know yet?
As many as my life continues to bring me, as long as
Oh, so
I
there's gonna be a
continue to,
theme throughout the albums.
it's going to be a theme. As far as I'm concerned, as far as God's had me realize now, it's just going to be kind of my thing. I really wanted to make something different. Like Ed Sheeran's got his, like divide, multiply, subtract
Mhm.
albums. And he's inspired me a lot. And I was just trying to think, I was like, I don't want to just name each of my albums. I want them to have something different. And so when we came up with Phase 1 Discover, I came up with the Phase 1 portion and I was like, what is something that was really, you know, important to me over writing all these songs? And it was me discovering myself as a person, discovering myself as a writer. All of the songs, either myself or one of my co-writers can relate to because we're going through or have been through whatever the song's about.
Mhm.
And those songs were written over 3-4 years even. So that's a large chunk of my teen years, some of the most formidable years of someone's life. And
Yeah.
so that was me discovering myself as a person. And so I don't know what phase 2 will be titled yet. Um, it's phase 2 unknown is what it is right now.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll because it doesn't sound like the whole album's like written yet, right? Are you still working
No,
on
it is
writing?
not. We have a
Yeah.
handful
So,
done, have a handful more that I want to go in and record. And then I usually leave about 2 slots open on the albums uh for 2 songs that are going to get written last minute. That might just pop up out of nowhere and it's like that's a song that I need to record. You
uh-huh.
know, that happened on phase 1. I wanted 12 songs. Wrote the last 2 to get 12, wrote the 12th one, and then like 3 days later I wrote the 13th song, which was Years, which was on my album. Wrote that one and I was like, I have to record this one. It's like, all right, I guess this album has lucky number 13 on it. There we go. Completely unexpected.
Wow. And so, yeah. And I wonder when you came up with Discover, was that when the record was done? We're like, okay, I
The
really
record was
discovered
done.
who I am in this album.
Yes, absolutely. The record was done. You can hear everything that I was going through in my life, whether it be, you know, like Anywhere Else or Fast Forward, being young and falling for somebody, or a song like Talk to God, where it's like you always feel like you're alone, God's always there. Years, which was the last one that was written on that album. uh I wrote that one, and then about 2 or 3 months later, I had a cousin who I was very, very close with just suddenly pass away.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
And the whole hook of the song is it ain't about the years you've been here, it's how you live them. Had
Yeah.
no idea, not knowing what that song was going to mean to me and my family, just 2-3 months later, three
Oh, so
days
the
before
song
my
was
seventh.
done was
The song was
before. Oh,
done.
wow.
The
Okay.
song was done, and then all of a sudden it's like this song almost became like a anthem, isn't the right word, but anthem for my family.
Hmm.
uh and so you can hear every every spectrum of a teenager's life and what a teenager goes through
Hmm.
off of that album, because it's all
Wow.
about it's all me, and it's
It's
raw, and
all,
it's
yeah.
it's my life.
When it comes to Falling To, tell me about that song. That's the one that's out now.
Yes, sir. So that I describe that one as like one of those fun love summer songs. Everybody can relate to Falling To. Everybody's been a teenager. Everybody's
Mhm.
fallen for somebody and thought they were the one. And so you
Sure.
got that summer love floating in the air, if you will. Um, I love telling people kind of how that song came about in the writing room. So can I go into that for a minute?
You go ahead, man. This is all about you,
Okay.
not about me. So you tell
Okay,
yours.
good.
You got the floor has been, yeah, it's
Thank
yours.
you.
Go on.
This it's really funny because people are like, I mean, this song's awesome. Did you like go in there and we're like, all right, we got this idea and we're just gonna crush it. We spent an hour and a half not knowing what in the world we were gonna write that day. We went into that, it was a morning write. We went in there in the first 45 minutes. I wrote it with Kyle Winski, Brian Sauerwald, and Pierson Swanson. We're at Pierson's house. First 45 minutes were Brian cooking him and Pierson breakfast. I mean, we were not writing songs at all. I describe it as throwing wet noodles against the wall and hoping one of them sticks. None of
Uh-huh.
our ideas were sticking. Nothing was flowing. And kind of out of nowhere, just out of pure boredom, Kyle started playing, one of the most common chord progressions, C, A minor, F, G. Started playing that. And Brian, being Brian, he sang out loud just randomly the first 2 lines of the song. They ended up being the first 2 lines of the song. And I sat up real quick and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Wait. I don't know what that was, but I liked it. And I wrote it down in the Google Doc and I said, please guys, can we just like sit on this for like 20 minutes, see where this goes? If nothing happens, we can just call it a day. Hour and a half later, we have a song. And I actually had the chorus written. I had it in my notes in my phone. I had like 3/4 of it done. And I was like, man, I like this cadence. I'd been trying to put it in songs. It never fit. And then finally I was like, I threw it out there and Brian goes, that would work really cool for this song. And it ended up being the chorus for the song. And I absolutely love how this song turned out because it is something that all 4 of us in that room understood, because we've all been a teenager. We've all had this happen to us. And I think the music tells the story just as much as the lyrics.
Mhm.
because the music portrays that summer. All the kids are gonna love the vibe.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
summer vibe.
It does. It
Uh,
has that
it
summer
it
vibe.
it really does, because that's what the song is. It is that summer young love, and I'm super grateful for what the song has done for me so far. The radio stations that have been playing it all over the country, it's kind of been surreal hearing myself on the radio, driving down the
Yeah.
road, or when I'm going to a radio station and we turn it on and they're like, "Oh, and like next hour we're gonna have Jet Jurgensmeyer in the studio," and I'm like, "They're talking about me." And there's like who knows how many people over this state listening to this radio station. So it's very surreal, and this song is just, it means a lot to me. I can't thank Brian. My watch is talking to me. I
Okay.
can't thank, Brian, Kyle, and Pierson enough for writing it with me. They're some of my best friends in the whole world, and we write together all the time. I love them to death. Uh, and I guess we're gonna have to keep writing if we can keep writing cool ones like that one.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you brought up the radio station thing, just because that's the life I led for nearly 2 decades. I interviewed somebody who now is a pretty successful career, so I'm not gonna oust them on it because they asked
Okay.
me to remove it. But I was asking them about, like, oh, what was it like to get on Kiss FM, in LA for the first time? And they were just like, well, to be 100, they're like, to be honest, like, I never listened to the radio ever. Like, they were younger. They're like, I didn't like it was like they basically were like, it wasn't that big of a deal because radio was just not a thing to me. And I was just like, I was laughing so hard. And like, then they were like, yeah, can you take that out? We're doing a lot of radio station like shows this
Hmm.
year. But it was just funny, like the fact that you're about to be 19, and that was an experience for you. That makes me feel good because I'm like, oh, that's awesome that people still were, not that I'm doing it anymore, but like at the time, you kind of get to that point where you're like, oh, is this all digital? Does anyone care? And to hear
Absolutely.
people that are successful musicians saying, it was awesome when I heard myself on the radio, like that was crazy. They're
And
talking about me.
I mean it too. One thing I never want people to think, even though I'm this bubbly, outgoing guy, I'm very raw and genuine with
Mhm.
everything that I say and refer to. I mean that so much. It's ridiculous. I grew up listening to the radio with my parents. My parents loved listening to the radio, so I grew up with that. Um, like my favorite radio show growing up, and he's still on, Bobby Bones show.
Oh,
Everybody knows
I
Bobby
mean,
Bones.
yeah, he's huge, man. I mean, he's
Yeah,
got a big podcast and everything.
exactly. So when I was really young and he had his show, every morning, if we were in the car over the summer, if I was going to basketball camp and they were driving me in the morning, I was like, turn on Bobby Bones. And then it'd be like, all right, turn on the highway. I want to listen to like the highway finds and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I grew up listening to the radio, and it is such a weird feeling hearing yourself on these radio stations, because like I know what it's like to just be the listener. And
Mhm.
now as the artist, you never know how many people are listening. You don't know people's reactions to your songs. If they're like, oh my gosh, we got to turn this off, this sucks. You don't know their reactions. It's not like performing in front of people. So it's stressful, but it's the coolest feeling because everybody has been on these radio waves.
Yeah.
Everybody from the Beatles to Elvis to Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift, Chris Stapleton. And then there's me. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't belong here, but I'm so thankful that I'm here.
Oh, you do, man. If you didn't, yeah, they wouldn't be playing you. It's a cutthroat business. I'll
Well,
tell you
thank you
that
for that.
much.
Thank you. It's a very
Uh,
big compliment every time I hear something like that.
that's awesome. So you have a show on Thursday. This won't be out by that time, but are you
No
doing,
worries.
is it mainly like are you doing a lot of local shows here in Nashville? I'm sure you're probably doing the acting thing. So is it hard to
I I am playing a
all that?
lot in Nashville. And yes, I know what you mean. Obviously a lot of acting is kind of,
Like you can't
people
just
that
go
haven't heard,
tour for 2 months.
there's a exactly. There's a strike going on right now, so I can't
Oh,
exactly
wait,
be
this might be the
acting.
perfect time.
Exactly. So the only thing that's really keeping me busy, Nickelodeon has a different contract with SAG-AFTRA. So I've
Oh,
actually been doing voiceover work for Nickelodeon right now. Which is
interesting.
awesome. Yeah,
That
which is
is.
funny because now I'm like the older voice that's introducing like the next up on Nick Jr. type thing.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because I'm introducing shows that I'm the voice on or that I am a character on. Now I've
Oh,
graduated, and now I'm the adult voice that's introducing
because you're
myself.
older. You sound older.
Yes,
Yeah, that's so
exactly.
funny.
So like I'm a voice on Bubble Guppies on Nick Jr. And
Yeah.
so it's so funny that now I'm the adult voice. It's like, stick around, more Bubble Guppies is up next on Nickelodeon. And I'm like, and then there's, like 7-year-old me that's like, I'm Nani on Bubble Guppies. So that's keeping me busy. But the music thing, I'm performing all over Nashville. I was just in Cincinnati about 2.5 weeks ago. I was just in Missouri about a week and a half ago. And then obviously the Bluebird round will be my 3rd time getting to play there. So that's kind of crazy. But all of my shows, if there's like people that like to come out and listen, you have to come out. I want to meet you in person. We live
Oh,
in the same town.
yeah, I'm going. I'm
Okay,
going.
good.
100%.
We all of my shows are on my website, jetjurgensmeyer.com, under the tour section. And then I post about all my stuff like before the shows, like a day or two before, on like my social media as well.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw the Bluebird Cafe one. It was on your
Yep.
social
So
media.
I always
You might
post
have a
about it.
maybe you had a few shows on there. I was swiping through.
I do have a few, especially I'm playing a lot at a campground up in northern Nashville, actually right down the street from the Nashville Palace where it all started.
No
Playing at
way.
Two Rivers Campground a lot. I'm playing at Martin's Barbecue a good bit. I just played there a few days back.
That's what I
And then
saw. That's what was funny when I was looking. Remember, I told you in the beginning that the interview, I was saying what restaurant your parents had, and it brought
yeah,
up Martin's. I'm like, no way, they own Martin's. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, he's playing there.
I'm playing there. And then I started this year. My amazing friend Lizzie Cates, she plays on Broadway downtown Nashville a lot, and she started asking me to join in on some of her gigs there. And so I've been playing downtown Nashville a lot as well. And those kind of are typically last minute gigs. So if people are interested or in that area, keep a lookout on my Instagram.
Awesome. Are you playing the Martins in South Nashville, or are you playing the one in
The one
Williamson
that's on
County?
Fourth
Okay.
Avenue.
Okay. Yeah, there's a
Yes,
couple
sir.
of them.
Yeah,
Awesome.
they're all over the place. So
Yeah.
I start college next month. Next month, I mean August. So I mean, yeah, that's this month. Oh my gosh, we're in August.
It's
That's
August
crazy to think
1st.
about. It's
Yeah.
August 1st. That's insane.
Yeah, my kids go
I
back to
start
school
school
on
this month.
Friday.
That's insane. I start college this month in Nashville. I'm going to Belmont University, and
Oh, you are.
I
That's
am.
rad. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a Martin's that's like, 5-8 minutes away from
Mhm.
Belmont. I'm like, man, I am gonna put on so much weight my first semester. It's not even gonna be funny.
The
I'm just
freshman
gonna be,
15.
yup, yup. I'm gonna be eating so much Chick-fil-A and so much Martin's barbecue. I'm gonna need a wheelchair to get around places, get from my classes. One of those electric scooters to get me around
Oh, there you
campus.
go. Yeah, that's cool. That theater there is beautiful.
It's absolutely amazing. I got to go to the first time I went there. They were doing the Beauty and the Beast play. And
Wow.
that was, wow, the sound in there, the students that were acting it was awesome.
Yeah, first time I went there was earlier this summer. Actually, my 7-year-old is he's in hip hop dance, and
Oh,
his
nice.
dance school did their big recital there. It was pretty cool.
Nice. Believe it or not, I used to dance quite a bit.
Oh
I
yeah,
actually took
we
dance from the point of where I was like 4 till I was like 13 or 14.
in
Uh,
here in Nashville.
I did here in Nashville, and then I started here in Nashville, and then when I went out to California, I did a lot of jazz and hip hop out there.
That's what
Started
my
out with
son does,
ballet
jazz
out
and hip hop.
here.
Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah. So for the people that don't know me and just see this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." The people that know me, they're like, "What in the? You do not look like a dancer." I'm like, I was not made to dance, but I did it. I did it. I stuck with it for long enough, and then I was like, "All right, I'm done."
That's awesome. Well, dude, that's so cool. You're going to Belmont. Yeah, and I'm sure you're studying songwriting or something. That's quite the musical school.
Yes, sir. I'm doing music business, so I'll get to learn more about the
Oh,
back end of the business, which I'm excited for.
beautiful. Yeah, very, very cool. Thank you so much for doing this, Jet. This has been amazing. I can't wait to
It's
meet you
been a
in person.
blast.
I'm gonna come to one of your upcoming shows here. I just gotta figure out when I can do it, but I will be there. I have
Please
one more
do it, Adam.
question for you.
Okay.
Before I let you go. You kind of answered it brilliantly earlier, but I'm gonna see I'm gonna ask again, whatever. If you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Great question. And I love answering this one. One thing which I did mention this earlier, everybody's path is different. You can't compare yourself, because everybody's supposed to hit different milestones at different points. Practicing is something that sounds like, like such an adult thing to say. Oh, practice, practice, practice. But practicing is a big portion of it. You have to continue to practice. You have to play enough guitar that you get the calluses on the ends of your fingertips so that it doesn't hurt when you play. I have those calluses, and I still am growing them. Each and every day I pick up my guitar just to break them in a little bit. Showing up even when you don't want to. If there's 5 people in that crowd, play like there's 5,000. You don't know who's in that crowd, and you don't know what they're going through. And music does change people's lives, and you can change somebody's life like that with a song and with a performance. That's the most overwhelming thing too, is watching that happen or hearing about one of your songs doing that to somebody. It breaks your heart, and it also warms your heart, because it's like you're the reason that I continue to do this. And the last, but certainly not least, this needs to, next to like following God's plan for you, this is like the next one below that, is be willing to be let down. Be willing to fail, because you can learn from those failures. And those failures and those lows, they make the highs feel so much better if you just let them. Bringing it backward.